another between the ears. We took a couple weeks off. I don't want to say it was my fault, but it wasn't. No, we all had time frame issues, and we finally were able to bring it all together tonight. So let's go through the crew once again. I'm Brian Bailey, rodeo clown, whatever. Chris George, phenomenal coach. How you doing today,
I
Chris?
am very well, thank you.
How's Williamsburg treating you?
It's amazing. The
Fall has been freaking nuts in the Mid Atlantic. I mean, absolutely nuts.
yeah,
So good
it's
right now.
weather's good. We had a couple days of rain, but now it's just
Well,
fantastic.
we haven't seen rain in the Mid Atlantic in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's been insane. And
Wow.
then Mike Grevlus, how are you today, bud?
Hey, doing great. Yep.
Nice.
Doing
How's
well in
that?
Sioux Falls.
Is it
Yeah.
is it snowing yet?
No, it isn't. We haven't had snow, and all our trees are still green
Nice.
in our
Wh-
yard anyway.
When
Not in
does
the town, but in our
when
yard.
does snow start to show up?
Usually in November at some point. Could be middle to late November is usually when we start getting hit a little bit.
And then when does it
Yeah.
stop?
And then it stops for a while. And then we usually get some more in mid-December. And then it's who knows what's going to happen
And
from
then it's
then
till
on.
May.
Yeah, it's like I don't remember a Christmas without some snow on the ground at
Mm.
some point. It could have happened, but I don't
It could have
remember it.
happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're here in the Mid Atlantic, like maybe it'll snow flurry on Christmas.
Is that what you hope for?
Oh
You
yeah,
hope
it
for some
doesn't ever
snow?
snow.
Yeah.
Very rarely, but
Okay.
all right. So we're coming off our golf weekend with Golf Cask. I'm still detoxing and a little tired, a little worn out, but it was a fun 3 days here in Charlottesville. Gotta do some whiskey tasting and a dinner, play some golf at Birdwood, and then we even played the Nest on Sunday, which is their par three course. And I think that was even more fun than actually playing the full course because no matter your skill level, everybody was in it, and that was kind of fun. But all right, so we're gonna talk about attention today, and your attention as a inside of performance as well as training. Like, where are you? What are you thinking? Uh, where are you putting emphasis on getting better? So, of course, we have a renowned sports psychologist with us. What would you say, Mike, with attention?
Well, there's a lot to this subject. Um, in my opinion, attention is really the hub of the mental game. It's the hub meaning there's a number of factors that play a role in what we pay attention to at any given time, how well we're able to do it, and how we're distracted by various things. So, uh, from those who have heard me before, those would be mostly motivational and goal directed factors that are going to impact our attention. And then the way that we pay attention will have outputs that relate to learning and performance. And so to me, it really is about getting our mind or attention at the right place or the best. It's probably better to say the best place or the optimal place at the time we need that type of attention. So to, it's an area that there's a lot of research on it in psychology and cognitive science and in neuroscience. But I would say at this point, there still is not a consensus on some general idea about what's the best attention to have. I think a lot of people in golf have heard about Gabby Wolf, and Rebecca Luthwaite's research on attention. She's at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and Luthwaite is an occupational therapist. And so they got together and have done a lot of research and made a big impact across different sports. But what they do is they focus on trying to figure out what's the best uh, location of attention or target of attention, internal or external, for speed, force, coordination, performance, accuracy, all sorts of different things. And internal is defined as any attention where we're attending to something in our body or inside of our body itself or inside. Thoughts, feelings, various mental processes, internal sensations, and bodily movements. and feels. So those are all be internal. External would be anything outside of our body, and oftentimes defined as the effects of what we do with our body. So they'd be movement effects. So that would be external. In golf, it would be focusing on the grip, focusing on the weight of the shaft, or where the shaft is in space, where the club face is in space, the weight of the club head, the location or spatial arrangement of the club or the ball, or something outside of the ball, an intermediate target or some target distally farther out where you want it to go. So those would be very common external types of attention in golf. So the question was in this research over the years has been, which one is better for learning and performance? But they didn't just focus on golf, they focused on a number of different areas as well. Different sports and different tasks, including things like jumping, for instance, the vertical jump or a tennis serve, something like that. So about 3 years ago, we had the World Congress of Science and Golf, as I think I got the name wrong, in Sioux Falls. We had a conference in Sioux Falls, and it was great. And Gabrielle Wolf was the keynote speaker. So now, at that point, I had already read the research and the meta-analyses that they had put together, and I had some criticisms in my own mind about the research. Now, I'm not putting down Gabby Wolf. Gabby is a very pleasant person. I got to ate lunch with her, and we had a nice, pleasant social conversation. And not once did I bring up any of my criticisms. I had my chance. I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. So what does
I
that say
couldn't-
about you, Mike?
I know. I just wanted to have a nice social conversation, be a nice person, and not make a big deal of it, especially before she was going to do her keynote the next morning.
Well, that's fair. If
Yeah,
her
no, I'm
keynote's
not
the
gonna
next
do
day, I
that.
thought it was after the keynote. So
It was already done.
I'll give you some
and-
grace then.
Yeah, it was beforehand. So I didn't do that, and I've never told her what my criticisms are. Actually, even though that's fair game in academics, that's what you do a lot of the time. But I'll tell you all. Okay, so I'll tell you what my
Shh, nobody else
criticisms
knows.
are. Don't. She won't be watching this, I don't think. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody can forward it to her. So that's kind of how it works. They've made great contributions, but there's a couple of issues. One of the issues is they provide two different groups different instructions for what to pay attention to. So the external will be different than the internal. And the assumption here is that both of them are equally valid kinds of instructions where you wouldn't create an advantage in one versus the other up front with the instructions, other than one being better than other just because it's internal or external.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a couple examples of some from studies. One is in a shot put, the external instruction to that group is to concentrate on the target while you're doing the shot put. The internal group was extend your arms rapidly. Now, think about that. If you're doing the shot put and you're a really good shot putter, is this something you'd ever really have as your thought? Like just extend your arms rapidly? Probably not, although that's not even the worst one, but I think that already creates an advantage to the external. It's a very isolated movement pattern.
Yeah.
In a shot put, it's the whole body working together in a rhythm, right?
Yep.
Pretty much any movement is. And so most of these internal instructions are isolated movement patterns that don't allow you to organize the whole body and move in a way. So when the external allows you to do that, and external allows you to use your whole body in a way that you typically would. And so when you can see that the distance of the put goes much further, in external, you'd go, well, is it really because of the internal versus external issue? Or is it because we've got a very limited, isolated attention on one part of the body that's not going to provide the kind of coordination and efficiency that you would need to be able to
And I
do
would
that. So
imagine as a shot putter, like a golfer, is using lots of rotational forces,
right.
and the actual extension of the arm is minute,
Yes.
a power accumulator and
Exactly.
everything they're trying to do. Just like the
Exactly.
golf swing, that would be like swing your arms faster.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and that's it. And they
okay.
don't. Yeah, and
If
it's
you want me to hit a big slice, I can do this all day.
yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of thing we have a problem with. Another one was the chipping. It was focus on the club head external versus focus on your wrists. Like, what are you supposed to do when you're focusing on your wrists? Exactly, right? So again, external won out.
Yep.
Chipping was better with external, but the internal was just such a poor instruction that it
Yeah.
never had a chance.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
correct.
so I give you a lot of examples like that.
Well,
And
Mike, what
so
would
one,
the external be if you said wrist? Would it be to be more specific that you, let's just say you, I'm not a shot putter, but kept a bend in your wrist longer or something like that?
yeah, even, okay, so if you did more of like a bend in your wrist, that would be internal still. But if you did something that's actually relevant to the technique, that would at least be better.
Yeah.
And they do that every once in a while with some of the research, but a number of the research studies, they don't do something that's really relevant to the proper or good or effective technique. And then they say external is better. You gotta almost, in order to do this kind of research, you gotta know those sports and the techniques really well to be able to give a fair chance to the internal. So that's the first problem among a number of the research studies. Now, so what they found, by the way, is constantly that the external is better. And so during the talk that she gave, um, she was very adamant that it's always better. And we've got to be careful with the word always, but yeah, it's always better. External is always better. Now, I have found external to be really helpful at times with athletes in different sports, especially if they experience some anxiety and fear when they go internal already. It's really good to move their attention outward and get out of their own body and their mind. And that can be really helpful. Or if they're over controlling the movement pattern, trying to guide it, etc.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, sometimes that external can really help. So they're right. External can be the best attention in a number of different situations, but not always. And so you think about a story that John Cook told me, and he said that Tiger Woods would practice at the back of the range on Mondays at Orange Tree in Orlando when he lived in Orlando. And John Cook and Mark O'Meara um, knew that Tiger Woods' short game, his pitch shots he wasn't able to control his trajectory or his spin very well. And this was early in his career. And they realized they need to help him do that much better. But he was like one speed, one
Yeah.
speed. And so what they did is they go to the back of the range on Monday when it's closed, and they were able to get in, and they would work on this. So I asked John, I said, do you know if Tiger was more focused in on getting the speed differences with his body or the club? Now, he didn't know the answer. He never thought about it exactly, right? But I've seen other things and heard other things that many really great golfers have talked about, including Jack Nicklaus. And I would bet a lot that Tiger Woods was focused on internal stuff
Yeah.
when he was trying to improve that trajectory and the speed of his different shots. Um, just based on the language that he's used about other things related to his swing. So there's an example. I think we know that great players often will have swing feels. Well, that's internal. Those swing feels are usually internal anyway. It could be the feel of, it's not really feel, but kind of a sense of where the club is. That can happen. But a lot of times it is swing feels. So that's the first issue. The second issue with it is that a lot of times when people get this internal instruction in this research, a lot of them would try to control that internal movement pattern and try to guide it or try to control it. So when they get the instruction, they're going to try to move that arm in a certain way, like rapidly move this or move the wrist very deliberately, consciously. And of course, we know that trying to deliberately, consciously move something, trying to control it while we do it, is going to have problems with coordination, sequencing, and force and speed. There's going to be all sorts of issues. All the issues that they say have an advantage with external versus internal. But so I wanted to throw out something different here. One of the things I've always thought is there are two different types of internal focus, but they haven't acknowledged or tried to study that, these particular individuals. So the way I look at it is you can try to control the movement and pay attention to your muscles while you're trying to control it, or you can simply be aware of the movement when you're moving. To me, that's a subtle difference, but it's a powerful difference. So it's like, somebody might be trying to have good tempo, right? The whole body. They might just have a sense of their tempo while they're doing it without trying to control it. Or maybe they even isolate a little bit and try to get a sense of where they want their arm to go in the backswing. And they have a sense of awareness of it, but they're not trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I've always thought there's a difference. And that came from my own experience shooting baskets. Like everyone, a lot of times people say you got to look at the rim to shoot your best. Well, that doesn't work for me. I am aware of the feel of the basketball coming off my fingers, and I feel like, and I know that works better for me. I make a lot more shots that way. That's internal. But I'm not trying to make anything happen. I'm aware of it while it's happening.
Yeah.
And to me, this is very similar to what some people will describe when they're in the zone. They say that I was very aware of what I was doing, how I was moving, but I wasn't trying to control it.
Yeah.
So interestingly, that's a very common characteristic of the zone. And yet, for some reason, people who are doing this attention work have not connected it to the internal and having it a different kind of internal that I would think would more likely lead to at least a similar effect as external and sometimes better. Now, just today, getting prepared for this, I was looking up some research to see if I've missed anything, and lo and behold, a study was done in 2021, and that's what they did. They recognized that there's a difference between the control and the awareness. And they found that when people were instructed to be aware of the sensation rather than trying to control it, lo and behold, the external advantage went away. So there's one study at least.
But isn't that bridge, that awareness is the bridge between internal and external movements, right? Like I can tell my club where to go, but if I don't have the awareness of what my body needs to do to make that club go where it needs to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. So what you find out, we talk about goals a lot. So goals are in hierarchies. So you have more general goals and we have more specific local goals.
Mm-hmm.
So a more specific lower goal would be like an action, whereas a higher goal would be for the ball to go a certain place. So you're talking about a bridge. That's exactly right. So you have the movement pattern is the means to another goal of where you want the ball to go. And so it's possible to have an awareness of the distal target while you have a sense of awareness of what your body's doing to have that ball go to that target. So now you've got two at the same time, which a lot of people think you can't do, but in reality, they're at different levels of the hierarchy. One's very abstract and one is very local. And you can have more of the sensation of the body that's more local, and that could be your focal goal, which I tend to call a focal goal, like the one that you're actually more paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
The target out there, you're not. It's there. You know it's there. You recognize it's there, but you're not really putting most of your attention there. It's more on the awareness of your movement, which, like you said, is a bridge to getting the other higher order goals met or achieved. So I think I just don't want people thinking, oh yeah, I've heard about this external. Everybody's got to go external all the time. It's just not true. It's just we got to figure out what's best for this person in this particular situation, which is what we usually come back to.
Always.
Right.
All right, Chris.
All right. Love to hear what you all think about all this and where you see this in your practice and your coaching and all that.
Yeah, it's an extremely complex and deep well we're going down. I would start with, the depending on, not to generalize players, but let's say you have a player that's learning the game, right? There has to be some action with intention on movement of the club and some technique. So that certainly becomes more internal, of body movements and kind of rotation and all those types of things. And then the connection to the golf club, right? Because that connection, I think that when we talked about the awareness, that internal, then awareness, and then external, that awareness flows through the club, honestly, because the ball's job is to go in the hole. The club's job is to educate the ball. Our job is to educate the club as a player, and collectively, us as a group at different disciplines is to educate the player. And meeting them where they are, what they're trying to achieve, is really important to me. And I love that puzzle every day with every player, and they're different in how they respond. But within that, internal agenda, right? I'll call it an agenda. There's a lot of things that are fighting for space. The desire to be successful with a shot. Let's talk about a beginner golfer or intermediate golfer that wants to get a wedge shot in the air. Just get it in the air, not so much just hit it the right distance, right? There's some things that go on along with that. And then distraction. Desire and distraction, I think, are really powerful, that throw that internal struggle around a lot. And it really mixes up the flow to get awareness, to get to the external where there's freedom, I would say, in some sense. And I'm not sure, and this would be a great question for Mike, I'm not sure there's a way, potentially there is, to back into that from the external. But there's still a lot of mental gymnastics that we play as a player. Number one, I heard an interesting quote, and I'll say this because I heard it the other day, but it says, "I was a great chipper until I learned how to chip." Right?
There's a lot of them out there.
So when you go from, I want this ball to land there and roll to the hole, and then you back it out from that external focus, right? That viewpoint into the internal of, okay, you have to do this and you have to have this, and all these ingredients are necessary for you to do a certain thing. And then, we start to get a lot of conflict. And so, those ingredients between desire, distraction, conflict, internal, because we're trying to do something. We think if we do this one thing, it was a great example of, you do this one very small motion, and that's what needs to be done to make it all good. And you lose that awareness or that collective, holistic movement that allows you to, as you described it, be in that zone. I was aware of it. I wasn't trying to make it happen. So, the brain is such a interesting, dynamic, powerful organism, and so smart. It knows more than we could ever try and tell it to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well put.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
interesting because when I instruct, I always try to find where the player responds best. Is it internal cues or is it external cues? Now, I don't work with many high handicappers, so I don't have that to worry about. So they're usually coming to me with already a very well established skill set and ability pattern. So then it's for me, it's just like, where do we need to focus for them to be able to move and be proficient at what we're trying to achieve? I I personally, it's funny, I hate external. I'm not internal. I don't think my wrist is going to set whatever. I'm kind of in that bridge. I'm always kind of just trying to find the feel that's going to create the shot. I know I've hit enough golf balls. I know the lie. I know all this. I'm just trying to feel what this pattern is going to be that's going to be able to create a shot. But that works great for me. My son, 180 degrees opposite. So to me, it's just the hard part is when you said this is the way or this almost always work. It does for most. And I can say from the tour players I've worked with, I've had some that are completely extrinsic. Everything is outside the body. And then I know one that all she does is think about feels. Like she doesn't care about anything external other than, okay, there's a target. That's where I'm going. But everything she creates is this internal feel pattern. She takes 1 or 2 practice swings, creates the feel to create a shot. And that's all she thinks about.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. So the hard part, like you said, is anytime that they say this is the way,
Yeah.
there's danger.
Yeah.
I know a lot of players respond very well to external factors. Get your, the logo of your shirt and putting. Can you get it clearing the left of the target so at least your shoulder's opening? Like, those I think are. Well, I don't know. Under your definition, since I put it on the body, would that be internal, external?
That's internal.
Damn.
Yep. That's internal. That's a body part.
That'd be a body part. Oh, so that didn't work. So external.
Yeah, you can look at it as the movement versus the movement effect.
I got you.
And the effect has to be outside the body.
I do a lot of skills based too, like club face control. Like, where is the face? Purposely hit it closed, open, square.
So that's external.
So that's good external, and a lot of players respond well to that. But I think kind of like what Chris said, it's all a blend. To me, there's always going to be some external components, but I mean that brain is internal, and whether you know it or not, it is monitoring every little piece of your body within a tolerance. It knows exactly where it is. So I don't, I know, trust me, I see a lot of instruction now, watch a lot of it all over the world. And external is definitely by far the hot topic.
Yeah.
Like by far, it's like you go up and down ranges and watch stuff on YouTube. External is definitely the way. But I kind of agree with you, Mike, that there's a lot to the internal component as well. Especially, for me, I'm always just thinking about body and space. And that's just the way I hit golf shots.
The awareness of that club face, I want to circle back to that. That certainly, the club is external, and where the face was an awareness thing.
Yeah.
But it does derive from internal, right? I mean, because it has to start with that internal piece as far as this isolated segment topic that we're talking about, because that is what puts force across the shaft to get it out there.
Yep.
Right. So your center of mass has to, do certain things. If you're pulling on the shaft or if you're pushing across the shaft, then, there's an internal thought to be able to do that. Let's say you got somebody that's, they're stuck or whatever they want to, they're under, they're stuck. And, they're putting a lot of force on the shaft in a certain way and their spine's tilted a certain way. Well, that's not going away just thinking about an external thing. You got to be thinking an internal to move that golf club a certain way.
Yeah.
And there has to be an understanding of that, right? so you can have intention,
Yep.
which then starts to produce some awareness, and then you start to see an outcome, and then the desire to do that more because the
Cool.
outcome is more enjoyable for you as a player. So it's a very important piece to know that you do have to have slow, discipline, movement and a process to be able to influence that golf club, in this case, in the way that the ball responds. Because in the end, that club face, meaning the ball, and the ball performing in a certain range that we need it to perform at for better players, college players, higher level players, more consistently. Physics, that collision model is very organized, to say the least. Yeah. And if we're doing something that compromises the integrity of that, you could get a lot of variety of outcomes.
I love that. So what you did is, instead of kind of jumping into the assumption that you either got to have external or internal, you were basically saying that you're going to have some internal, external, probably in the same swing. You might have a little bit. That's what I heard you, in a sense, imply. I didn't hear you say that directly, but and in fact, that makes sense. Our attention can flip so quickly, and it's always, it can switch. And one research study I was looking at did show that the most superior performance in putting in this particular group of 2 to 5 handicap players was where they started external with a distal target of where the hole is, and then it turned internal within a second of impact. So, and that they were the most accurate. This is one study, and when one study doesn't mean that every single person had the same pattern. Yeah. Right? That's always the case. So I like that idea too, that they work together, that they can work together, and you can have them both going very quickly within a short period of time, switching off from one to the other. It's just too often I've seen it in the golf industry. Maybe it's the golf industry because my focus is on the golf industry, number one. But number two, that the golf swing and performance is so complex. I mean, you saw just attention is so complex. That's just one piece of all of the things going on. So it's so complex. People are reaching out, trying to figure out what is the answer. How can we get some more help to our players? They're not improving as well as we think or want, and so they grab on to some of this research that gets out there. Somebody takes it, they hear it on a podcast, and then they think it must be true because it's research based. The problem with that idea is that so much research has been shown to be much more complicated, subtle, with lots of nuances, and sometimes just plain wrong after a while. And so unfortunately in the golf industry, it's just this one big idea just spreads like crazy. And I hear certain people out on who I have these podcasts will just talk up external like crazy. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you just don't know. You don't know. And I don't blame you for not knowing. You haven't read probably the specific studies, and that's not your area. So you're doing the best you can. Yeah. And that's how people will do it. And I don't blame them, but this is why we talk about this stuff, because
they read the abstract.
Yeah, they'll read the abstract, and that's right. You won't get into the details, and so yeah. All right. So I think what you all had to say about Mike, this are really cool.
In defense of golf coaches, we're kind of dumb, so you gotta cut it slack.
Speak for yourself.
I would not say that. There are so many intelligent people in golf. They're just not knowledgeable about particular things. That's how I look at it. I seriously look at it that way.
There you go.
It's
glass
just
half full. I love it.
I really look at it that way. It's like hey, they know a lot of things I don't know, and simply because I haven't studied that. So it's like
Oh,
I would be vulnerable maybe to jumping to certain conclusions as well. So you always got to be thinking critically all the time, but checking out the people who are actually those who would have that long-term knowledge,
yeah.
and it's just not always out there, you
No,
know.
I agree. I used to tell my golfers all the time that they would say you're really smart about the golf swing, and inside of college maybe classwork is not the most important thing in your life. Golf for some reason might be a little bit better. I used to always joke about like Jeopardy, right, when they'd bring the athletes on and
Yeah,
they just looked terribly dumb,
right,
but you're like, those dudes are savants
right,
at running a pattern, reading a
exactly.
defense, shooting a basketball. Like
Right.
Trebek's up there, like kind of like smirking at him, like you don't know the emperor of the Ming Dynasty from the 1580s. Like, and he's like, all right, so you're gonna have a 2-over safety with
Exactly.
and like
So true.
Alex Trebek would be like, what the are you talking about? Like,
Exactly.
so everybody has their skills, and I
No
think the
doubt.
problem is when you try to become super expert
That's the thing.
in something that you're not. You
Right.
know, exercise science, I know a little bit, but I'm not an expert. I defer to people that are much smarter than I, and I will send them there. And
Yeah.
then we'll learn from the expert, and
Yeah.
then we'll come back and
Right.
incorporate that more into what we're trying to do. So I think
Yeah.
that component of it is, I think, again, we used to call it fairy dust too. You read an article, you see somebody, you read a golf magazine, you watch a video, and you think it's a fairy. Oh, this will work for everybody. Work for the one guy on the video. Not sure how many takes. Not sure exactly what just happened. But
Yeah.
again, and then his terminology might be not proper.
Yeah.
So he's conveying something that sounds like, I've seen more internet fights off of terminology. Like, I get what you're saying, but you're using the wrong term, and people just go nuts. And
Right.
it's like, cut,
Right.
show grace, show
Yeah.
grace.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
It's just a term that's not the most commonly used
exactly. So I
in
think
that
more.
particular context.
I think a lot of times, again, I know in the golf industry, I've seen this as a college coach. One team does something, everyone thinks they had success because of that one thing. Then every team tries to implement that one thing,
Right. Boy,
and
that's the truth.
and you just kind of sit there and go, well, if it's something that's not a negative, what's it going to hurt?
Right.
If it's mindfulness or it's some, okay, fine. If that, but the danger is, you know, I learned to chip, and if you do this, it works every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah. No, it's just true. And I mean, you can understand where some coaches can be kind of desperate to do whatever they can to help people better than what's been happening at this point. So,
That's fair.
there, unfortunately, golf, I have to tell you that in the industry, I just see a lot of, I don't know, this is maybe too strong. People who claim to be experts in certain areas that I like to vet people. If I see this and I see this out there, I like to see what are their credentials, and I'm seeing some stuff that's really scary. Where people are throwing themselves out there as experts and even utilizing certain terminology to call themselves certain things that it's just there's zero evidence for it. And I think I just see it a lot. I don't know, you guys probably do too,
Golf industry is
in
crazy.
the industry. And you probably see people, as coaches, you probably see coaches who may have had very little experience and background and maybe mentoring and all of that, and are throwing stuff out there on social media that is pretty premature and pretty irresponsible. I would think you see that. I certainly see it in the whole psychology area.
Yeah.
But
I think it's every area. I think there's a
I
lot of
suppose,
people in a rush to be experts.
yeah,
You
yeah. I
know,
saw just the other day. You can be a neuroscience coach and get certified for only 40 hours of time. It's like, oh yeah, I'm like neuroscience coach. It takes people years upon years to understand really what's going on with the brain,
and we
and
still haven't figured it
and then
out.
it's going to change.
And we
Because
still
it's
haven't
like,
figured it out. Well, I saw a social media post the other day, and it was, I can't remember, some group that said, "Hey, sports psychology, you want your kid to play college golf? Come work with me, guarantee X amount of shots off," or something like that. And I'm just sitting there going, I love sports psychology, Mike, with the best of them.
Yeah.
But you start telling me you're going to take off double digits just because of the brain, the way you think. I'm like, it's a piece. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. But I was just
Yeah.
like, but people read that and believe it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you got to have skills, and that takes some time, right?
skills are
That takes some
skills are
time.
the key to everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the part I think. And it goes back to your question. How do you become an expert? You've got skill sets and you got skills that you can fall back on and then build from. And I think a lot of young people and people rushing to be experts forget that there's a skill acquisition piece. Even as a coach, there's a skill acquisition
Sure,
piece, just like a
absolutely.
player. So
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people will jump that move,
Yeah.
and it bites you. It always does.
Yeah.
Trust me, I did it. There were times in my life where I was like way over my skis,
Yeah.
way over my skis. But
Mike, would you say, going back to the internal external? I'm
Yeah.
just kind of thinking while we're talking. Um, we often hear that we can't take our range from our game from the range to the course. Can it, or has it been potentially attributed to there are a lot of more internal focused technique, move your arm this way, do this, do that on the range relative to the golf course where the desire becomes more external. You want the ball to go high or go a certain distance. And truly, for lack of a better term, it becomes an at all cost, I want to be successful venture out there for 18 holes. And they abandon those principles, even though they may not. What made me think of this was your skill acquisition comment.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, I often say to players, you're hitting the right amount of good shots and the right amount of bad shots for your skill level, right? That's a normal type of situation, even though you might not like the math involved in that.
Yeah.
But based on the hours you've put in with the skill and where you are developmentally with your motion and the holistic movement pattern and strike of the golf ball, those are normal things.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you could speed up a timeline potentially? Or what is the balance between that internal versus external training?
Yeah, no, that is an excellent question. And I'm if I were to do some research, if I were to do that here soon or in the next year, that would be one of the top three topics I would want to really go after, because obviously that's a huge deal. You figured that out. You figured out a lot of different things. So my view is yes. I mean, there's something called the uh, specificity hypothesis, and the idea is that when you can get practice and competition more similar, then it tends to transfer better. Okay, that's one. But what do you got to make the same? Because you're not going to always have it the same. You already talked about how there's times you got to go slow mo. Technique is really important. You're trying to get the feel, and that's a really strong internal focus. And will you be able to maintain that when you're playing? It doesn't mean that you can't maintain an internal focus. And so in that sense, but you got to get to a point where you're just aware of it and not trying to control it. So you got to get to the point in practice where you're in that other type of internal focus where you're aware of what you're doing, but that takes a little time probably to get to that point where you can just be aware of it and it's happening within a certain range of error. And then that's what you would do out on the golf course. And then those would be similar to each other. The other thing is, I think that at some point the goals will end up needing to be similar. Not at first, because the goal is going to be the focal goal is going to be on what you're trying to do with the technique. And that makes sense. But eventually, you're going to want to also add the piece where you want the ball to go a certain place and you got the feel. So you need to be able to do that in practice so that because that's what you're going to do out on the course. So you want to make the mental stuff eventually similar. You wouldn't expect it to happen right away, but those are the steps. And by doing that, my hypothesis would be that'll transfer and accelerate that transfer process faster. Um, there are other things that people do, and I'm sure you do, both of you do as well, to make those little steps along the way. But it is appropriate to focus on one thing during practice when you're just learning a new move. But like I said, I think it needs to advance to a certain place so that you can have the awareness instead of trying to control it. And by doing that, you will be able to transfer it better. The other thing is the context that you're in, of course, and that's another part of it, because when we plan a movement at any time, we're taking in the environment, we're taking in the ground, we're taking in the visuals and the sounds and all of it, whatever's really relevant. And so we take that in, the brain takes that in, and it feeds into the motor areas in order to plan the movement pattern. And so we need to be able to eventually get the environments similar in practice and on the course as well, because that's how we plan a movement. So we need to be able to plan the movement during practice in similar ways as well. All of those are very important because they are direct inputs into the planning of the movement. And the goal is so important. As you said, like, if you have a goal of in practice that's different than at the course, the reason I believe it doesn't transfer very well is because I believe goals are directly impacting the specific movement pattern that is going to be sent to the body. And so that's my view. There's a number of planning areas in the brain that are motivationally driven. And pre-supplementary motor area, the supplementary motor area, the premotor area, all these different areas up here, and they're sending the final messages to the motor cortex that sends the messages to the body, and the cerebellum back here, which coordinates them. But yeah, they need a certain goal, and if you change the goal, it's my view that you change the movement pattern, and so they need to be. I call it the goal specificity principle, which I think would accelerate the transfer process big time. But I don't ever hear about that out there. It's just it's because it comes from a motivational point of view, and but it makes sense in terms of how the brain seems to work with motor output. So those are some thoughts. What are your thoughts on some of that?
That was good. As you were speaking about it, I was thinking about, you talked about, the process of the things that go into it, the environment, the ground, all the different things. And I was thinking while you were talking about, so at some point there is either a perceived threat or a threat of failure that becomes a distraction that diverts your attention. And so now we get caught in a cycle of not being able to execute a process or a performance task or something of that nature.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because like I often tell a golfer client, I'll say, how often do you practice scared? I mean, mostly never. I mean, there's sometimes somebody might say, yeah, when the coach is watching, and I could. Okay, that's possible for sure. But very seldom do they develop their skills and create these movement patterns that are represented in the brain in a way where when they're scared. So now you're scared, and now you've got a different state and you have a different goal. It really is a different goal too. When you're in a threat, you're going to have an avoidance goal, and you're not practicing under an avoidance goal. And so the brain's trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do here? I don't really know what I'm supposed to do when I'm trying not to hit it over here. When I'm practicing, I'm always trying to hit it someplace or just trying to move it a certain way. And that's all I'm ever trying to do. And now I'm supposed to try to figure out where I'm not supposed to hit it. Well, you can succeed at that avoidance goal in 1,000 different ways and not hit it over there and still hit a terrible shot. And the brain just doesn't have a specific ability or a specific representation for that kind of a goal, because you don't practice it. And so therefore it does the best it can with with the similarity of the situation, and then it comes up with something that's not as precise. And that's how I would define and explain why avoidance and threat type of goals that come out in situations where they're trying not to hit a bad shot can change that shot slightly, just a little, even just a little bit. Because, like, okay, I'm gonna pull this out. I want to show it to you. All right, so you saw this on Instagram, I think. All right, so I said on there, I carry this thing with me most of the time, and it's like always in my pocket. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Well, first of all, this is a key where I don't have to think about what I want it to do anymore. It's a motivational habit. It's a goal habit. I always have it go in a circle right away. At first, I had to imagine it going in a circle. But what's happening right now is that my brain knows what goal I have. And it automatically sends a motor message to the muscles at the end of my thumb and forefinger to have it go in a circle. So this is an automatic goal-directed movement pattern because it's become habitual in a situation when I'm showing this to anybody. All right, number one, that's the first thing. The second thing, I'm not trying to make this happen, it automatically happens. Now, the second thing is I could try to have two movement patterns at the same time. So let's say I want it to go in a circle this way and I want it to go in a circle this way. This is what happens when you mentioned the word conflict earlier. This is what happens all the time in golf. So people are trying to have two things happen at once. They're trying to hit a good shot, but they're trying not to hit over here. Well, all right. Or they're trying not to hit it long, but they're not trying not to hit it short, whatever it is. So, okay, so I'm going to show you what happens when I'm trying to make this key go in a circle in both counterclockwise and clockwise and see what happens. Got to trust that I'm trying to do that.
I guess this is going to stop moving.
It actually isn't stopping moving. And the reason why it's not stopping moving is I want it to move. I have a goal of having it move in a circle. But the problem is I want it to go in two circles at the same time. They're incompatible with each other. So what is it doing?
It's going back and forth.
It's going back and forth. It tries to go in a circle this way, then it tries to come back this way, and it looks like it's going in a straight line. The brain's trying to do the best it can to get both goals met at the same time, but it ain't working. It's not working. And that's how it happens in golf. If we have a conflicting goal, and an avoidance goal is always conflicting, the brain's just trying to figure it out, and it's just like making it up. And it has some good information from a lot of practice, so it does pretty good. But you can see in this one, it couldn't do it. So it gives you an example of how conflict impacts the motor messaging to the body. And it's like I wasn't trying to make it go like that. It just did it. It just tried to get both goals met at the same time, and it came up with a pattern that wasn't going to be very effective.
Nice. I'll give you a great story of one of our players was the most cutthroat, competitive person I've ever been around. And she figured out she'd watch players as she's playing with them. And if there was a player that wanted to play out of turn, she's like, that's avoidance. And I'm going to make you suffer. No. And she would purposely slow down and just let them go over there at that chip shot that they don't like, that they want to get done, get to safety. And she would make them just based in it. and she would slow down and tie her shoes and put a club in, pull it back out, grab a new club, like, and I'm just sitting there, it's gamesmanship at its best, but she was brilliant at reading other players' cues and saying when that player was uncomfortable, she was not cutting you any slack. No, I'm going. No, you don't finish. Can I tap that in? No. Like
Interesting.
she knew, but if you were confident and you would just, she would, oh yeah, fine. But man,
Yeah.
if you showed any sign of that avoidance component, man, she would cut your throat, and it was fun to watch because she completely understood.
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
literally evaluates people, how they walk, how they swing, and what they're doing on the golf course. That was her fun
Interesting.
during a round. That was what
Right.
gave her something to think about
Yep.
outside of all the other pieces. But yeah,
Interesting.
was
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant at it. And I mean,
Yeah.
I saw some people just squirming over there. They're just like, oh, you could just tell. And the next shot usually never ended up very well because, again, you got that chip shot you don't want, and you're sitting on it for about 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Bad place to be.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's good that she recognized that. I mean, it's just it can be anything. It can be with putting. It happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
With putting, certainly.
There's definitely a lot of avoidance pieces in putting.
A lot of avoidance in putting, and there certainly is, and there's probably some theories about why, and you may have some
Consequences,
yourselves.
man. The closer you get to the hole, man, consequences.
There you go. I think that's
I
probably
mean,
the main one right there.
that little 4.25-inch cup, man, it screws with a lot of people.
Yep.
The closer you get, it just becomes more valuable.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it is.
Does that 6-inch putt any more valuable than that 300-yard drive? They both count.
I know.
But no.
I know.
Yeah, it's
So true. I do have one question for you all, and I'm curious what you think. Because I hear a lot of times people saying, well, I'm not trying to make the putt, I'm just trying to get it close. And I recognize the background of that. They realize that there's not much of a chance to make it from 25 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. Okay, the probability is very low. There's no doubt about that. But does that mean because the probability is low that we shouldn't try to make it? And when they say they're not trying to make it, what do they really mean? See, what do they really mean that, or do they not? And so I'm kind of curious what your thought is. And I can share with you mine, but I'd love to hear what you all think about that.
What do you think, Chris?
Kind of goal.
I think every putt that steps up there is trying to make it. Now, and I also would say that their expectations are not realistic.
Okay. Right.
For a couple different reasons. One, it could be the distance of the putt. It could be the difficulty of the putt. It could be their skill level. They don't have a chance of starting online or at the right speed or completely have misread the putt. But I think every player that plays is trying to make it, whether they're 3 feet or they're 30 feet, right? They may say that they're trying to get it close on a lag putt, but even when you ask them, well, what's a good lag putt? They might be 40 feet and they'll go, well, 2 feet. 2 feet. That would be like amazing. Like,
yeah,
I want to be your agent.
Let's put it in an 8-foot circle diameter, so it's only 4 feet from the hole. That would be doable, right?
Yeah.
Depending on certain players, and the higher skilled players can hit it closer, obviously.
Yeah.
But
so the expectation part, that one to expect to make it is interesting. That would probably be very rare when somebody just goes, I've got this. Sometimes they've got that intuition where they just know they're going to make it, and it happens sometimes.
Yep.
But you're talking about the kind of expectation like you should make it or something like that, and obviously that's not helpful.
Yeah, Mike, I think it goes to your hierarchy of goals. My goal is to make the putt, and if I don't make the putt, then my next goal is it within what I would deem a good putt? Then the putt was still successful. I didn't make it, so it was still a successful putt. So I think to me, it's more that hierarchy of goals. Is I'm never trying to miss. That's as soon as I introduce a hole, my goal is to put that daggone ball in the hole. So my goal is to make. And now if I didn't make, again at 40 feet, was I within a couple, was I within 3 to 4 feet of the hole? Well, that was a successful putt.
Yeah.
It put me in position to score well, so I'm okay with that. Now, if I'm outside of that 4 feet, now I'm at 6 feet, 8 feet. Now is it short or long? And now I have another hierarchy of what just happened and why did that happen and what can I learn from that? And kind of as it kind of goes down the list. But I think every good player, there's nobody that would be like asking a pitcher, not to don't throw strikes other than intentionally walking someone. Like even when they intentionally throw a ball, they're intentionally throwing it somewhere to fool the batter to swing a certain way. Right. It's not like a throwaway. So to me, you don't ever throw away a shot.
Yeah.
But again, if you do miss, you have to say, all right, okay. The next goal down, did I reach what I was trying to do? Okay. Was it a tap in or was it a? So yeah, no. And I think too, if you go with just deviations, if you start to say, I'm going to purposely miss this, I'm okay with this being 3 feet short. Well, now I've taken what my normal deviation is, let's say 4 feet at 40 feet, and I'm going 3 feet short. Now it becomes 7 feet short. Yeah. Because I've taken that 4 foot of variability in the system and just applied it differently, and when we did a lot of data research too, it showed for good players, you have an 8 iron or better in your hand, you're firing at the pin. We don't care if there's a hazard, it's short side, you're firing at the pin because again, as you start to, you really don't go away from that until, we start getting really long distances in because again, every foot or two I'm moving away from the hole, my variance is still there and I'm making that variance bigger by aiming away from the hole. So again, even on approach shots, depending on ability, there's going to be certain clubs where you do not hit at the flagstick. Like I would say going to attention and understanding that too many people put their attention in the wrong play. I have a wedge in my hand and I'm focusing on a bunker or I'm focusing on, I got a wedge in my hand. I'm at this yardage. Like I'm drooling. I don't see X, Y, or Z. I see flagstick. I'm going. So I think, again, I think a lot of that is understanding, again, to be really good at this game, you have to understand the game. Yeah. And I know in college golf, it's brutal. College coaches are terrible at risk reward. They're so they're so scared of people making bogeys, but they also, that fear that they put in that player drives away birdies. I can't make birdie if I'm not firing at pins. Yes, I'm going to make bogeys, but there's a crossover point where you have to have that awareness and that understanding of what's important. So I think, again, it's a hard damn game. Why the hell are we playing this? I tell people all the time, you pick the hardest sport on earth. If you want to be really good, you have picked the hardest game on this planet. Like, I know hitting a baseball is hard. Don't get me wrong. Physically hitting a baseball is massively harder, but playing golf and the variance and adapting to every shot, every round, every condition. The beauty is a baseball field's a baseball field. It's the same angle, the same distances. Oh, hey, buddy, all the same stuff. But man, golf is, I don't know of a harder sport. I've played them all for the most part, and there's no harder sport than golf. Even though people laugh at it, and they assume it's not. But it's, man, it's a challenge.
People tend to think it's easy just watching it. You just have a club, you just got to hit that ball.
That's right. Come play with me. Let's put up a couple $100. Come play with me.
Even amazing athletes struggle like crazy oftentimes.
I would say that is the number one. Again, it goes back to Jeopardy, right? You can take the best athletes on earth and you put them in golf, and they don't look like great athletes. Did you see LeBron James swing?
No, I have not.
Go to YouTube, look up LeBron's golf swing. Yeah, this dude is by far one of the most gifted athletes in the world. Yeah, and golf makes him look like he's terrible, like a terrible athlete, and he's not. Charles Barkley was another one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I remember him his struggles.
Well, he got the hitch or whatever that was. I don't know what that was. But again,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing this wonderful game of ours.
Oh yeah. That's why I mean we can talk about it a lot, right? Because you can
Yeah,
talk
that's the
about the
fun
rest of your
part.
life. There's also and try to figure it out the rest of our lives.
No,
Keep
I'm
on
writing
doing it.
yeah, I'm writing a piece right now, like eyes, like, what do I see as a putting coach? I've never really done this. So I'm literally writing like when somebody comes and sees me, what am I evaluating? And I'm just like listening, like I immediately been like, boom, this is what I see, this is what I see, what I see. And then
Nice.
what I see, what are my expected from this? What do I expect to happen? And like all these evaluations are going on in a split second. Like I'm evaluating all this stuff. I get somebody with a putter, I get what, 1-2 swings, and then they're looking at me like, okay, what do you see? Like, so I'm categorizing everything in 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I expect. Oh, that didn't happen.
Love that.
What did I miss? Oh, there it is. Like, so to me, it's a really interesting way of, for 30 years of a putting coach, what does it look like? I
Yeah.
mean, and
That'll
it's
be
it's
really
quite
cool.
interesting. And
Yeah.
I keep coming
That'll
back
be
to the
great.
damn butt of the club. That's your best friend is a putting coach, butt of the club.
Yeah.
Watch that. It
Interesting.
tells you everything you need to know. There's your Rosetta Stone.
But well, people are going to have to watch that.
That's right. The
Yeah,
butt of the
for
club. I'm
sure.
telling you.
So
Chris talks about it all
see
the
what
time, I'm
that
sure.
means.
But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's by
The
far
butt of the club. I love
the
it.
butt of the club. It tells you everything you need to know about what's getting ready to happen. What
Nice.
do you think, Chris?
What's that?
The butt of the club. What do you think?
It's a piece of the unit for sure.
It is definitely a piece of the unit, but it
Well, so
shows
you
you
can take
travel.
that. I'm sorry. You can take that and you can go, okay, well, you could, you could have an awareness of the butt of the club,
Yeah.
or you can have an awareness, that'd be external, right? Or you
Yep.
could take an awareness of how you get the butt of the club to get somewhere, and that would be internal.
Yep.
But in the end, that's what I think happens with people who say they're not trying to make it. I really do believe it's the hierarchy issue.
Yeah.
And I think what they're referring to is my attention in my mind isn't that I'm trying to make it. But what I would say is, well, when you read the putt, what was your reference? And they're always going to say the hole.
Yeah.
So why would the hole be your reference if that's not what you're trying to get the ball to? Why wouldn't you do it 3 feet to the right, left, an inch to the right, left, or whatever? And they don't. So basically, what it is in my mind right now, I don't think that I'm trying to make it, but they've already set the whole thing up on the basis of wanting to make it and the goal of making it, and they still do. It's just that would be not the focal goal, but it's still the goal. And I think that's exactly right. It's a hierarchy of goals, and so they might be focused more on stroke or whatever. There's all sorts of other things I suppose you could focus on, right?
I'll never forget in the putting world, and Chris will probably laugh about this. There was a guy that used to teach linear and nonlinear, like everything
I've heard that before.
yeah, like for breaking putts or whatever, it's linear or nonlinear. And I always made the same reference to, if it's nonlinear, you're just feeling and whatever. I go, on occasions, do you just like hit it 10 feet away from the cup just because you were just feeling something that wasn't there? I go, no, there was always a linear piece of, here I am, here's the hole. I need to react to the linear part, whether you see curves or whatever. But, to me, I was just like, what a fraud this is. Like,
Interesting.
like non-linear. What does that mean? And every player that ever saw them always came back non-linear. I don't think I ever once had a linear player come back to me. And a lot of people saw him for a lot of years. But I'll never forget. I'm just like, what does that mean? Explain that to me. Well, I see everything in curves. What is the major basis of a curve is your baseline. like, is it really a curve if there's no baseline, or is it just an arc, or is it another straight line going a different direction? No, it was chaos. And but yeah, I'll never forget. I love Mike. He's a good dude. But man, that whole thing he had a lot of people believing a lot of stuff. Good or bad, I guess. Some putted well with it.
All right. Well, anything else related to attention that you wanted to talk about, or what do you think?
My dog is here. I'm paying attention to my dog.
Yeah, you're paying attention to your dog. Have you all heard my dogs barking?
Yeah, a little bit.
this
I was
whole time?
wondering. I thought I was getting feedback there for a little bit, and I was like, "That sounds like a dog."
Yeah, they're upstairs, and I
All right.
debated whether to leave and put them outside. But
I have a filter where I can kill background noises. It's fine.
okay, all right, cool.
But
Amazing
yeah,
technology.
no, it's. I think attention. I think it's massive in the understanding. Again, it's where do I put focus and where do I put priorities, and and I'm truly an internal dude. Like I think externally, of course I do, but like I said, I'm more the bridge, the hybrid. I'm just trying to get a feel. Like I know I need to hit it high, so I create a feel to hit it high. I don't think my club is
I'm
gonna.
the same way.
I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
think
the same
clubhead
way.
exit or any of that. I just know that to hit it high, I do this. But that's also 40 years of golf.
Yeah.
I would also say that as players are training or they're practicing, I think the hardest thing for them to do is to stay internal, and that they're evaluating that internal execution, whether that's the right arm or the right hand or the pressure in the lead foot, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Because as soon as the ball leaves the face, they're determining whether they did it well on whether it was a good outcome.
Yep.
Oh boy.
They go immediately out to the outcome.
So good. That's a good point.
You know, getting a player to just be patient enough to go, disregard the outcome, and I'll even put a net up in front of the canopy out back, so they can't see it fly, and then they don't know when I'm going to drop it, but I can drop it like mid downswing, and they'll see the ball fly. And it's very interesting that they'll go, well, their response was, well, that ball hooked, but it has nothing to do. And I say, well, your task was this, you did an amazing job on that. And they're already out to what was wrong with the outcome or what it was, and that's where we talked about being slow and, disciplined. And
exactly.
But that's how you acquire the skill. That's how you train it. You can do so many good things that way that give the player the opportunity to understand the evidence, not only the evidence of the ball, but then, from that, the evidence of the club, and then from that, the evidence that they produced in influencing the golf club. Those kinds of things really matter for a player to have their attention in the right areas. And there's no doubt that some players tend to be more or train more internal or external. Just some personality profiles do that. They're different performance skills. We talked about the ability for the performance aspect of creating the threat. What I thought about when we were talking about that was, I have players that are learning to play competitive golf, and some junior events are slow play, right? So if they get on the clock or they get behind, certain players really start to freak out. Like they have to be the one to catch everybody up. And so we put a little, I call it the shot clock. We'll play 6 holes and we got a shot clock, and they don't know when they're going to be on the clock, and then they got to catch back up. Just practicing things like that. So because what they find is they're not as organized with where they're walking. It's not that they have to walk faster in between shots or be faster during the process of the shot. And teaching them how to manage that environment when they have it occur, because before they didn't have the tools to be able to manage it. And I think there's so much with that awareness and intention and attention that helps players be successful.
It's amazing how slow they can be with a golf club. like just from like a lot of college golf, like we used to call them pig pens. Like they just go to the bag and they pull out a glove, and then they look for some tees, and I'm like, Like all this could have been done. Someone else is hitting. All of this should have been done by now. So the reason we're on the clock is not because you're playing slow. It's just you're
Yeah.
disorganized. Like it's just chaos over here. It's just like, oh, my glove, and then they're like, oh, I forgot my tee. I have to go back to my bag, and then oh no, this ball. I'm just like, two other people just
Exactly.
two other people
Now,
just hit. Why are you not ready?
if they had an attention plan, they could get rid of that, right?
That's
Because I
right.
mean, there's different phases of the shots, and if they knew if they were first able to write down what the sequences of the tasks are or the phases of the shots, then attach exactly what to pay attention to in each one of those tasks or phases, and then be able to identify what distractions come about internally or externally, write those down, and then figure out a plan to be able to redirect to the things you need to know. To me, that is such a simple situation to put themselves into and to
Yeah.
create an analysis of their game. And it is so powerful to just to be able to redirect, because whenever you're distracted, really all you're going to do is redirect to some attentional cue that you've already decided makes sense. But if you don't know what it is, that's where they just go round and round and don't know where to go with it. And then it just keeps distracting them. So I think that's a really simple way that any golfer could do it. And
Yeah.
you can break that into phases, sequences, any way you want to. It wouldn't matter as long as you know just what attentional cues are your best ones in each one of those. Then you always have a go-to.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
yeah, pretty simple,
Yeah.
but it
No,
takes
I
a little
agree.
time.
No, we usually like we would do a lot of the same stuff too, like getting ready for tournaments. You would have, I need an hour to warm up. I need an hour and a half. Okay, well, what happens if you only got 30 minutes? What happens
Yeah,
if you only got 15 minutes? What
yeah,
happens if we blew a tire and literally we got you there with 3 minutes to go? Like,
yeah,
you're
exactly.
like, what are you gonna do to be prepared and not be freaking out?
Yep,
And then like I said, inside of training, we would do that. We'd be like, all right, we're qualifying today. You guys have 10 minutes to warm up,
yep,
and they'd be like, oh,
yeah,
it happens. It
exactly.
happens. Do it. So again, it's a fun game, and the more prepared you are, the better. But you can't prepare for everything, but you do need to prepare for as much as possible.
Yeah,
I remember we played one year at regionals in California, and first day we played great. Second day we played the afternoon group, so we didn't tee off till 3, which is 6 p.m. East Coast time, right? And we're like, oh God, we're finishing at like 10 o'clock at night because college rounds are not fast. And I mean, about 4 holes left, we hit a wall as a unit. Like you could tell the energy was gone. And we bumbled and stumbled and made tons of bogeys. And, we were rolling day 1. This is going to be easy. Day 2, we're like, we're in the thick of it. Day 3, we played morning again. We played fine. But 2 years later, we went to Stanford. You know what we did a week before? We started training at night. We said, hey, indoor training,
yeah,
7 p.m. till 9 p.m. We're hitting balls. We're
yeah.
we've got to be comfortable with playing, because I mean, you could just tell like the entire team was just like, and there's no better feeling in the world as a coach going, well, ain't nothing I got. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can do. Maybe Oliver.
It's working on his putting game.
That's his dog treat bag. So he's checking out, make sure
Ah,
everything's going. But
awesome.
no, I think to me again, it's a great game. Welcome to any of you that's just starting. And for
Yeah,
those that are frustrated, we get it.
yeah. The tough part is that a lot of recreational golfers will never. Well, first of all, they may not listen to this. Hopefully, they do.
Yeah.
But secondly, they won't do these things. They won't. It's frustrating because a lot of rec players say they want to get better,
We
but
know.
they just goes no, they just want to get out there and
Yeah.
hurry up out to the tee box and go play and whatever they do maybe. But it is kind of a sad deal unless they don't care. Then it's not. Then
Yeah.
fine, go ahead and have a great time. But most rec players will never put the effort into a lot of these things that any coach or mental coach has talked about.
Well, Chris,
And
what do they
like I
say?
said, they're simple. They're very simple things. I always my experience with players is the ones that apply it are the ones that actually get better. Isn't that something?
It's crazy. What is it, Chris? 10% of all golfers take lessons? Isn't it something
Yeah, it's not very much.
minute
Yeah,
number like that?
that's just it's incredible, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. And then it's
It's so
literally there's
interesting.
what 30 million golfers in the US, give or take, and
Wow.
only about 10% of them
lessons.
take a lesson.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So that's why everyone goes, well, even with all this great technology, handicaps haven't changed because nobody gets better. They can hit it further into trouble. They can top it cleaner with more power.
Yeah.
But all right, gentlemen, we'll wrap this puppy up. And Chris, we're gonna give you control next time. How's that sound?
That's awesome.
All
I'm
right.
excited. I get to pick the topic, right?
You get to pick the topic and you get to
All
drive
right.
the show. How's that?
All right.
Love it.
And so we'll wrap this up. If there's any questions, Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me at chrisgeorgegolf.com.
All right, and
on
Mike?
Instagram,
sorry.
you can find me at Chris_George golf.
Perfect. Mike?
Well, I always say the same thing, but I'll add Instagram. But
There
I've
you
had
go.
it. I just never mention it. It's Dr. Mike Grevlis at Dr. Mike Grevlis.
Nice.
And then I haven't had anybody who's listened to it get a hold of me yet.
All right.
on this site, the motivationgame.com.
The motivation game. Well,
The
Mike, you gotta update your
motivationgame.com.
website.
What's that?
You gotta update your website, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm done. Is that why?
If I came into the first time, I'd be like, this is fake. This is not real. This is not a real
Off
site.
record, give me some advice. I'll take it. I put that thing together 4 years ago, and I didn't even look at anything else.
You haven't even looked
I
at
just
this.
threw it together. I'm so bad at all that stuff.
We're in a Facebook world, man.
so
If you're not
bad.
changing things every few weeks, people go, what's going on?
Yeah, makes
Have you
sense.
given up? Have you quit? Have you retired? No.
Yeah, makes sense.
And of course, you can find anything Golfcast at golfcast.com. You can find me at the bar, and I'll be more than happy to talk golf, whiskey, cigars, whatever you want to talk about, or all three. That's a good night right there. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you in about a month. Cheers.